Hello, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Maybe you're in bed already. I don't know. My name is Gideon Caplan, and I'm saying hello, welcome to World Delirium Awareness Day. I hope you're having an amazing WDAD, and I'll try to leave out all the WDAD jokes. I've been asked to talk about what is delirium, and you might say, you know what delirium is, and you probably do. On the other hand, I don't think you actually do. Why would I say that? Because all the time we define delirium, we think of it as the symptoms of delirium. If you look up DSM-3, 4, and 5, and you say, what is delirium? They'll talk about the symptoms, or you'll think about it as a syndrome of all the different symptoms together. Or you'll talk about it in terms of all the precipitants, all the vulnerabilities, and there are hundreds of those, which make it really hard to remember. I can't remember them all. But really, what is delirium? Delirium is a brain disease. It's a form of acute brain injury. And it's pretty clear to me that it leaves the brain with a permanent injury, especially if it's more prolonged or severe delirium. And we've studied what's happening in the brain during delirium, and we found massive metabolic derangement. And these are some FDG PET scans on the left from a delirium brain and on the right from a normal brain. And if you look at the normal brain, you'll see that the light color, which is the higher rates of metabolic activity, is distributed symmetrically and evenly around the cortex. Whereas on the left in the delirium brain, you'll see that it's unevenly distributed. There are areas of hypometabolism, and there is relatively preserved or even hyperactive metabolism in the sensory motor cortex, that bit running across the top there. And if we look what happens as time goes by, at the top we have one person with delirium and the same person 3 months later, when all their symptoms of delirium had resolved. And you can see that the brain has still not come back to normal. There's still this hyperactivity in the sensory motor cortex. Although it does look better than during delirium, it's not completely normal. You wouldn't want your brain to look like that. That's after the delirium is recovered. So we've gone one step further and we've compared two groups of people. Both groups are sick in hospital. Both groups have no dementia as far as we can work out. Both groups are old people, but one group has no delirium and the other group has delirium. And what was the difference? When we compared their FDG PET scans, we found that the hypometabolism was localized to these areas: the right superior frontal gyrus, the right posterior cingulate cortex, part of the temporal cortex, and both thalami. And if you understand the function of these areas, which is listed in the column on the right, so it makes it a lot easier for you, you'll see that it corresponds precisely to the symptoms of delirium. So these lesions, these areas of hypometabolism, really explain the symptoms of delirium. So that's why we think this pathology is very close to the central pathology of delirium in the brain. And when we measure the metabolic change, it correlates very strongly with measures of delirium severity, with degree of cognitive dysfunction, and with the functional change that happens to the person during their episode of delirium, as well as with the clinical outcomes after they leave hospital. This strongly indicates to me that we are closer to the central pathophysiology than with other changes that are often thought to be causal in delirium. So what is delirium? A brain metabolic disease. Happy World Delirium Awareness Day.